Hey, it's Melissa from Kiwibanana, and today I'm going to do a video on a topic that's a little bit different to some of the other videos that I've done in the past. Now, I have been doing a gender in the law class, and this is a legal paper. For those who don't know, I've basically finished all my study. I've just got one more exam left to go, but I've just finished my Bachelor in Commerce in Accounting and Taxation and my law degree. So yeah, I've been doing this class, I've been really enjoying it, and so I thought I'd just share some of the things that we've talked about, or actually in particular, probably more focusing on one thing that we've talked about, a certain topic, and some of the stories that I've been told, and some of the statistics that we've talked about. And I'm going to remove things like legislation and cases and things like that, because that can be kind of confusing or a bit boring for someone who doesn't really have a legal background or just doesn't have any interest in that sort of stuff. So anyway, this video is probably going to be a bit of a rant video as well. So if that's not really a thing, then I don't know, maybe you don't want to watch this video. That's up to you. So to finish up the class, we had some guests come to our class, and they did some like a presentation, sort of like just telling us about some of their research, and some of them work in the legal industry as lawyers, and we had one of them was a Supreme Court judge, which, for those of you who don't know, in New Zealand, the Supreme Court is the highest level court in New Zealand since we had it established in about 2003. And so there's only about at one time there's only ever between 5 and 7 judges that sit on that court. And so so she was sort of talking to us about like gender and what it's like being in the law industry with different genders and different experiences that some of us I don't know, experienced, should I say. And she was just sort of saying about a paper that she'd done and some of that research. So to give you a bit of an idea of, now when I'm talking about gender here, I'm so sorry, I'm going to be talking probably mostly in cisgender terms. So I'm just going to say male and female. I'm so sorry, because there hasn't been enough research done on people that are transgender or identified as other genders. So we were talking about this, and she was presenting her research, and sorry, I was going to tell you the background. So in New Zealand currently, and it has been like this for a number of years now actually, for every male graduate that finishes law school, there is 2 female graduates. So that, off the back seems quite unequal, of a gender balance of who's graduating and things like that. And but once you actually look at the statistics of who is in the law, this is research to do with the legal industry just within New Zealand. I'm not so sure if it's the same or different overseas, but so in the legal industry, whoever's working in there, they've just sort of looked at, who's working there, which gender they identify with, and it's about 60% female and 40% male. But when they start looking further up in the, different positions, because obviously in any industry there's different types of positions within an industry, and so they looked at like the partners. Now partners are kind of like the people that run law firms. I won't bother explaining or go into too much depth of what it takes to be a partner and etc, etc. But 24% of partners in New Zealand are female, and the rest is male. So there's then like a swing about, you could almost say, in which gender is doing sort of what sort of jobs within the legal industry. And that kind of got me a little bit like, oh, is that a good thing? Does that mean that, maybe only females just want certain types of jobs, or are they just not being offered those jobs, or are they not being given the opportunities? And, you kind of question a lot of those things. And in her talk, she was talking about a lot of the myths, and I think her paper, in the paper, in the sentence of the, the title of the topic, it basically said something like debunking the myths of gender and law. But then also, she started to get into the statistics of pay. And she said back in about 2011, they did some research into, not saying she did, but there was some research done into how much are people getting paid when they first graduate. So, like their first law job. So this is from almost like, day one, where you're kind of expecting there to be no, obviously different firms, and whether you work for private or public, or you work in-house, etc., it's slightly different pay scales. But from, looking at, someone who works in the same firm or the same type of work, and they were finding that that male graduates from day one, and when they did this research, were getting paid about, I can't remember, it was 11 point something, can't remember the point something, I'm sorry, percent more than female graduates. Which seemed quite bizarre. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, 11 point something, yeah, okay. But, I'm sure as time gets on, things are going to improve, and people will be more equal, and, it kind of doesn't make sense because there's less male graduates graduating, but I don't know, maybe they're seen as, a specialty, and, it's really hard to get hold of them. So I don't know. And then she said that the most recent research that they did, obviously, once again, it's not her that's particularly doing the research, it's be a group of other people that will be doing it, that difference had actually increased. So it's now 18% difference between male and female graduates. So right from day one, the male graduates are getting paid more than the female graduates. And I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe that doesn't really happen. Maybe there's the research was wrong, or it's not right. And, because you want to think that. You want to think it's not true. You want to think that that's not going to happen to you or your friends or, other people that you know. And then one of the lawyers that had come along and was talking with us at this class, she shared an experience that she'd had when she first graduated, and she graduated in about 2009, and she was saying she was working for a firm, and there were 3 male graduate law students, and herself and another female graduate law student at this one firm, and they were doing some workshops. And for those who don't know, New Zealand's a bit funny when it comes to talking about pay. You're actually not really allowed to talk about your income with other people, within the law, within your organisation. But also there's a bit of a cultural thing there where we don't tend to talk about how much money we're making. That's just what I've noticed compared to many other countries. We're very conservative when it comes to that. And so anyway, back to what I was saying. She was in this workshop, and they were talking about all these different things, and then they got up into the topic of how much is everybody getting paid, within the 5 of them. And obviously in this workshop they were allowed to talk about this, and it became very apparent and clear quite quickly that there was a discrepancy of pay between the 5 of them, and there was a $4,000 difference on an annual pay scale between 3 of them and 2 of them. And the 3 male graduates were getting paid $4,000 more a year than the 2 female graduates. And this is right from day one, fresh out of law school. They're all doing basically the same job or very similar role, and they're already getting paid differently. So I was quite shocked when she said that. And one of my lecturers actually shared a story about, she's actually from Europe, and she often goes back there for work and conferences. When you're working at university and you're a lecturer, professor, things like that, you do tend to travel a lot for your work, and she was in the UK and she was visiting a friend of hers, and he runs a really prominent law firm in the UK and in London. And because she specialises in employment law, so she's, you know, kind of interested in employment law, obviously. And so she was talking about with him about how gender is a little bit, you know, are getting treated differently even within the law industry. And he said to her that when they advertise for graduate roles for their law firm, that 80% or more, I can't remember if it was 80 or 90% of their, you know, top applicants, the ones with like best marks and all these extracurricular activities and like just done really well at school and done like volunteering and all this sort of stuff, 80% of them were female. However, he said he admitted to her that they were only, out of the people that they do employ when they you know, for these graduate roles, he said that it's only about 10% of the time that female graduates are actually getting employed. So to me, I'm going, oh my God, this doesn't even make business sense. Like, you've got the top graduates coming through, right? And, you know, 80% of them female and 20% of them are male. But you're not even picking the top people. You know, you're picking obviously a few of those male ones, but you're not even picking like the top applicants for your organisation. And I'm like, what? Why? How could this happen? And, you know, the studies and the research shows that the more equality that you have with your, you know, gender equality, and obviously there's other equalities that are an issue in here, but I'm not going to talk about in this video. But it doesn't make best economies like sense for the economy when you do this, because the research shows that the more equal it is, the more money that your organisation and your country actually makes from this. And I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of other organisations out there where they might be there might be more females in there, but the males could be still getting paid more, or it could be the other way around. You know, but when I was talking with a friend the other day about this, they were like, oh, well, it's always about the fact that a woman is going to have a child. And I myself, this is a video for another day, I don't want children. So it's really frustrating when you hear businesses and organisations and people in power talking about, well, you know, women could have children, so we better not give them quite as much, you know, employment opportunities because they might let us down and have a child. And I'm like, hello, I don't even fucking want children. Like, so it's really frustrating. But yeah, so I guess this is kind of like a rant video. It definitely is. Shit, it's gone on for like 13 minutes now. I'm just really frustrated that, you know, that this is occurring, and like some of you might say, oh, well, you blooming feminist, you need to shut up, blah, blah, blah. But you don't even have to be a feminist to see that, like, what I've just told you is, it's unequal. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not equal. And, you know, my partner was kind of like, well, you don't need to focus on it, because if you focus on it, then it's going to happen. You know, it's one of those sort of dwelling on something and it will happen. You know, I think that's where he's trying to come from when he's talking about it. But, you know, if we don't talk about these things, then things aren't going to change. So, yeah, I basically just went on a rant. And, yeah, I mean, maybe some of you have had something very similar. And, you know, obviously there's a lot of other inequalities out there. You know, people, like I was saying before, like, obviously not everybody is a cisgender male or a cisgender female, and people have different sexualities, people of colour, people that maybe have different religions, or even like, I mean, veganism itself is definitely something that people are often discriminated against for being vegan, but that's not really what I was focusing on with this video is that obviously there are more females in law school than males. There tends to be more females in the legal industry than males, but from day one there's already a pay difference in the fact that males are paid more than females, and and there doesn't seem to be any justification for it other than, oh, she might get pregnant. It's not okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's 2016. The statistics show that your business and your industry, the economy, your country will do better if you have more equality within your organization. And that comes down to, obviously, like, who you're employing, how much are you paying them, what opportunities are you giving them? Are you making sure that their needs are being met in the workplace as well? So yeah, I've done my rant video. It's gone on for nearly 16 minutes now. If you didn't like it, you didn't have to watch it. I didn't make you watch it, but I hope that maybe some of you might have got something from this, or you're inspired to talk about something similar yourself. I wasn't going to name any names in this. That's not the point of this video, and I didn't really share any of my own personal experiences. That could be like a video for another day. So yeah, like, if you do, comment would be nice. Like, please share me your experiences that you've had or something like this. It doesn't have to be gender either. You can talk about anything else that you have either experienced yourself or you've seen it. Because I know there's many of you out there that have had, I guess I consider myself as having quite a bit of life experience, but like nothing compared to someone who is probably twice my age, or 3 times my age, or even maybe 10 years older than myself. I hope you've done something that makes you happy today. See ya.